Welcome back to my workshop journey, and after getting one or two jobs done around the home and other things that have taken my time from the workshop, I'm back here now and almost ready to start my next project. Now you'll see, as a result of all the tidying I've done in the workshop, I now have a totally clear bench. That's going to be ever so nice if I can keep it tidy. We'll wait and see on that one. But there's only one thing I now need to do in preparation for my next project, and I'll come on to that in a few minutes. But you'll remember from other projects earlier, like when I was doing the sewing table, I was using the bench router with the fence, and part of my problem was the inability of keeping the workpiece square to the router cutter, because and it was my neighbour Tim that pointed this out to me, there is a slight dip on the bench at this edge. So first thing I need to do is just raise this part of the bench slightly up, so the fence that I'm using will allow the workpiece to run flush with the cutter and this top edge. So that's the first thing. And when it comes to fine adjusting of the router fence, part of my problem was the inability to know how much I was moving things. Yes, I could mark, and I know you saw me in an earlier episode mark on the bench where I needed to go, but I thought a better solution, I've got myself from Axminster a couple of 150mm rules, and what I'm going to do is pop them on either side like that, and then that will help me to position the router fence that little bit better. So those are the first two things in anticipation of the next project. So let me come to that. So the new project is a couple of cabinets, wall cabinets for the kitchen, and what I'm going to be doing is using some of the stock of oak that I've got up on the wall here. Now during this week I've been drawing out or making myself some plans, and I know I've mentioned this before, but I've tried using software by way of drawing. I just don't have the time to learn how to use the software properly, so I've just gone back to my old school technical drawing, and A4 pieces of paper, and at 1/5 scale I've just drawn some of the components. So two cabinets, one's going to be 810mm wide, the other is going to be 1 meter wide, two doors to each, and what I thought, I'm going to make them all with mortise and tenon joints throughout, and one of the existing cupboards is one of those that I made quite a few years ago out of some not very good softwood. again, that was using mortise and tenon joints, and it seems to have stood up quite well. The joints haven't sagged at all, so that's given me confidence to use the same. One thing I'm planning to use as well, and this comes on from the back of the sewing box. If you remember, I made the side panels. In that case it was out of beech, but with a raised panel on both sides, so I could slot the panels into the legs and rails. I'm going to do the same thing with this. Those panels though are just going to be that little bit bigger, and again I'm going to make them all out of oak. So I've also made myself a cutting list. It's not going to be complete because the way that I'm working, at times I think I've thought of everything, and then as I come to do it, oh no, that needs to alter. So these are the plans so far, and what I'll do is I'll put them on screen at the end of the video today, so that you can see what I'm going to be doing, and hopefully we'll get there eventually. Okay, so first things first, to raise this fence up slightly so that I can get rid of the tilt. Now you'll notice I've got the rule on the bench. It's going from the back of the table to the front, and you notice there's a light patch just there because of the gap. Now, oops, this is one of the new rules that I've got, and it is actually 0.6 of a millimetre thick. So if I just pop that through there, you'll notice it's maybe 0.7, maybe 0.8 of a millimetre gap just there. So I've got to raise this up slightly, and then we should be good to go. So first things first, take that's free. Now then, does that give me enough? I don't need a lot. I think, oh yeah, there's one more I missed. That's given me plenty of wiggle room. So, as I say, I don't need a lot. I just need it enough to get rid of so that's where it needs to be, but these screws, because it's only coming up slightly, they're going to fight to go into their old holes, aren't they? So let me just take these out. And that's that. There we go. That's flush all the way along that bench, that part of the bench, across there and to there. Good. So just pop this second one back in here. Double check. Keep double checking, and that's fine. So I can just tighten up this last one. That will do in its old hole, and there we go. Excellent. So that will now mean when I'm working with a longer piece of wood against the fence, it won't have the tendency to tip that way. Everything will go along the bench without tipping. Okay, next thing is to position these two new rules. And I should have mentioned as well, you've probably spotted it already, but the parallel clamps I've managed to put on this back wall, I'm going to be moving those clamps as well, and eventually, but it means I'll be able to use that space, and they are easily accessible now, as opposed to having over here to try and fight to reach anything. So that was just an aside. Here's the fence, one of the rules, and the width of this is 15 millimeters, and what I was thinking was I will need to position one of them here roughly, and the second one roughly here, about halfway across the fence. I know it's only 0.6 of a millimetre thick, but I don't want anything to impede, so what I'm going to do is just use the router to inset these very carefully. And if I can do it, I'll have to check what cutter I have. I know I don't have a 15mm router cutter, but I know I can, with a bit of care, make sure that I cut something that's tight enough to allow that to go in. So let's start marking out. Is just make sure the centre of the fence is across the middle of the router down here. So just by eye, I'm just lining the rule up. Oh, let me use a longer rule, it'll be easier. That's roughly in the middle. So there we go. So that's roughly the centre point of the fence. And really I need to just double check. That's 300mm there. This left hand side is 280. Okay, so doesn't have to be exact, 295, but I want it something like 285. $290, $287, close. $288, $288, that's fine. Okay. So that's just so that I know roughly where these rules are going to be. So, now this is 150mm, so if most of the movement will be at the back. So if I put the front edge at 50mm, that's there, and there we go, and then do the same at the other end. So from the 50mm mark at the leading edge of the fence, just mark where I need the cut to go. There we go. Okay. Right, I've marked out the position of this rule that's going to go roughly where the router is. And what I want to do now is just make sure that everything is perpendicular to the table. Now, the difficulty I have is working out where to put the straight edge that I'm actually going to screw down to the bench. So what I've done, made sure that that track there, I've made a series of pencil marks that are parallel to the track. So I'm just going to make sure now that where I position the piece of wood is absolutely the same. So if I make that 20 millimeters, from there is there, 20 millimeters from there is there. Join the dots. That's that. And then position that on the line, screw it down, and that's the first batten done. So drill. That's that one. And then make sure that this is the same. Now this is just over 150 mil. Inconvenient, but never mind. I just want to make sure that these battens don't allow the router to move. Oh no, it's exactly 150 millimeters. Okay, so let's join the dots. All because I don't have any decent hold downs. Okay, so that will go down there very nicely. Just like that. Now then, it will only needs to be 0.6, maybe 0.7 of a millimeter deep. So here I've adjusted the cutter so that it is really on the base. The fine adjustment I'm going to use the actual rule by way of thickness, and the depth pin, I'm just going to move that down to there so that there is just enough gap, and take it back just slightly like that, tighten that up. So when I push down, it will only go that deep. Okay. So don't forget my ears. And you might not be able to see it on the camera, but that is taken off just enough, and look at that. It is actually a 14.5mm cutter, and that fits very nicely. It's just below the surface, which is what I wanted, and I just need to take out a slight amount to take in that corner there. So if that's where the cut needs to finish. Ears back. There we go. And I'm very pleased with that. So that's a nice fit. All I've got to do now is cut the other side. Now, as I did before, what I'm going to do is just mark off parallel lines. Oh, that's nice. That is, by pure serendipity, already parallel. I'll take that one. So just screw these down. And because I'm so close to the end of the table here, I'm just going to have to go with that one batten, but I can live with that one. It's not going to take much weight or pressure. Okay. That's that. And I'll use vacuum from just underneath the table. This is the outlet that I would use if I'm using the router under the bench. There we go, that's that one. Ears. That's the rule that I'm going to be using. And just needs a little extension at that far end. Actually, if I put that on the end, I'll just square those off with the chisel. Look at that, that's nice. It's just below the table surface, so that's not going to impede anything. It's a tight fit, so it won't come out. I'm pleased with that. Okay, so let me clear the bench, put the cutter away, and then we can make a start. Right, so now we come to the cupboards and sorting out all of the wood. So first thing I'm going to start to do is work my way through the pile of wood that I have in the shed and work out what I can use where. Now the longest pieces are the 8 uprights, and I'm going to make those 30mm square, and they are all 790mm long. So I've got plenty of squarish timber, and I'll start with that and see what I've got actually by way of length and width, and we'll work from that. So all of these are about 50mm, so that will unfortunately mean I've got quite a lot of waste on both of them, but at least it will give me a chance to square things off, give me plenty of room to square things off. But now I need 8 uprights, and let me think. The longest piece here is just over 1.6, so I can get 2 out of that. Two out of that. 3, 4, 5. Now that's interesting. That one is that one's 36, 37 thick, so that's less waste. So what did I say? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven, 8. Okay. That one is going to need a lot of adjustment, so I'll swap that one out, I think. That one's also quite distorted. Oh well. Right, so that's that. Pop those back. Everything else is going to be either 50 by 25 or 100 by 25. So what thicknesses do I have? I've got a lot of 30s. So if I go for 30 by 110, that should give me quite a lot to work with. So what do I actually need? $308, $790. $980. So we're going to need quite a few linear meters, aren't I, for this? Okay, let's crack on. Now here I've got, they're all over 100 millimeters wide and approximately 30 millimeters thick. So I'll just do a quick tally. 1, 4, 2, 2, 4, 3, 350, 350, 4, 450, 470, 5, 570, 6, 7, 830, 930, 10, 1080, 11, 12, 13, 10, 14, 10, 15, 40, 15, 40, 16, 40, 16, 60. Right, 1660 linear. So what I'll do is just make a note of how much I've got out, roughly, and then I'll total up exactly what I need by way of linear over the oncoming week, see what else I need to get out, because as I say, I'm going to be using some of these to make the panels. Now those are I've got 4 side panels. They're going to be 275 long, wide, 650 long and 15 thick. So obviously I'm going to need to join a few of those together, and 290 630 by 15, 385 630 by 15. Those are for the door panels, and so I'll total up what total length I need and then add to this pile. And once I've done that, I can start dimensioning it all by way of planing and squaring off, and that's going to be quite a big job in itself, but that's why I have this wood, of course. So that's as far as I'm going to go for today, and I'd like to say thanks for coming along with me on this journey, and I'd really like to say welcome to the new subscribers to this channel. It's a constant amazement to me that you actually like watching me ramble on, but it's a pleasure to have the interaction with you on these comments, and thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time. And as I promised, here are the plans that I've just put together. The first one, the 1 metre wide cupboard. Second is the 810. I've got the 4 doors, the 2 for each section, and then a cutting list as well. And if anybody wants a copy of them for their own amusement, or if you want to use them, then just drop me a line in the comments and I'll email them to you.